I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We're still stuck in Vegas, aren't we?
I don't think we actually ever left Vegas from the last time we were here, except in astral projection.
Well, whether we're astro projecting or not, we are the CRM Playaz.
So we are, once again, 10 years straight.
10 years straight, but we always get good guests, right?
I mean, actually, there's probably some qualification to the word straight on that one, but we'll get into that another time.
We're going to leave that one alone. All right, so we're still at Adobe Summit.
Yes, we are.
It's like the last day, right?
Yeah. I think actually last day was probably yesterday, and we're just sort of continuing on fumes today.
Okay, that sounds good. But at least we're going to finish with a bang.
Yes, we are. Wow, a big, big bang. Actually, the entire universal theory of evolution right here.
Oh, my.
There you go. Well, you got to say who he is.
Oh,
although
no,
most people.
You go ahead. It's your prerogative. Don't worry, I have some follow-up.
Oh, okay. Ray Wang.
So here's my question.
All
Are
right.
you the real Ray Wang?
I can't answer that question because the drones are out.
Yeah, but the clones are busy.
The clones are very, very busy. We're in high conference season, and that means you never know who you get, right?
So
I mean, I'm Straggler's clone right now. So
let me sort of explain this to people watching and listening. So Ray is easily one of the most preeminent influencers and analysts and thought leaders in the world, really, in the world of technologies in particular, but even more broadly lately. And the best way to put this is he flies around a lot because of that. People want to see him, and he gets up in airplanes and puts in, I don't know, 500,000-600,000 miles a year, maybe, give or take 350,000. And he somehow is, well, let me tell you one story which will explain Ray. I'm in San Francisco at Dreamforce, at a Salesforce analyst breakfast, and Ray got a picture on Twitter from the night before at an Infor conference, and I'm explaining to people that Ray's at the Infor conference, and I'm showing this picture.
And where's the Infor conference?
Oh, that was in New York.
New York, okay.
And then Ray, literally, while I'm explaining this, walks in. That's Ray Wang. So he's got 6 clones. That's my theory, and it has been for a long time, and I will stand by it. And I'm only not sure if this is the real one or one of the clones. But they all are articulate anyway.
That's what makes them.
I think you have to look behind the year. I think there's something
well, number
there.
6 may not be so articulate. He just handles the tough stuff.
4 was the one you had to worry about.
Yes, I have been.
All right, so we're at the end of another event here. What's your initial impressions of this year's summit?
Well, Adobe Summit's one of those places I love being at, right? It's super high production value. People are working on very, very interesting things. It's not your typical tech conference, right? So folks are really thinking about customer experience. They're thinking about marketing. They're thinking about commerce, right? And we're at a place where they are now, with those acquisitions in place, they can talk B2B to C, creative to commerce, right? There's only one company in the world that can do that, and they're in that position to have that conversation. The question is, where do they go from here? Right, but right now nobody's worried about that. I mean, there's a lot to do in between.
I'm worried.
You worried?
Yeah, where do they go? Don't you know?
I don't know. Look at their market cap. I mean, we're talking like 150 billion almost, right? I mean, this one of the. I mean, they've grown this thing from out of nowhere starting with the Omniture acquisition all the way out. Now we've experienced cloud, right? And so I think it's pretty interesting to watch.
Well, I got to give it to them. I mean, a few years ago, I remember when I saw the first Experience Manager product. I mean, it was a good product, but it was a digital asset management product. It didn't build experience. You couldn't do anything with it but manage assets. And they would do, just as you said, their production values are really high. So they do cool demos, like you'd see them literally change a video in Times Square Jumbotrons live by taking a file and dropping it into the asset management. But ultimately, what they were doing is dropping a file, right? So it wasn't like that was all that big a deal, other than that
but
they
it
managed
did it with
to make
panache
it.
and
Oh my
style.
God,
There
the
you
day
go.
ever. I mean, but in the last few years, they've added Sensei, they've added, they've added experiential marketing. You can actually build experiences within Experience Manager, kind of giving it its name. And that makes them unique. I don't know anyone else in the market that does that. Or lots of people claim it. I don't know anyone who does it. Do you know? Is there anyone else you even can see that does anything like that?
There are a lot of smaller players that are in this space that are actually handling some of the design, the experience pieces. We see them come up, but not at this scale. This is a very, very different scale. Some people have content management, some people have the design, the creative, some people have other areas, but not aggregated like this.
Okay.
So, and I think people are trying to get there. There's definitely competitors,
Yeah.
right? I mean, Salesforce is trying to build that and trying to get to that side of the ad network. Amazon's trying to build this stuff actually in the back end. Oracle has a lot to bring to the table.
Yeah,
so we
sure
see,
do.
so we see this, right? But if you're on this creative to commerce side, and you want to go end to end and destroy Scott Brinker's 8,000 MarTech vendors and collapse them, you know, this is definitely one of the places you would start.
So, the other day they were talking about their differentiators in the analyst meeting, and they were just talking about, it was a bunch of differentiators, and one of them, you know, was like true omni-channel this and so on, and then they had art plus science and a few other ones. And to be honest, you know, just sticking the word true in front of omni-channel doesn't make you any different, right? So, I mean, it's the same. Everyone claims that. So, but art plus science is where they differ. It's the one place where they are unique. Now, the interesting question, because, you know, every year we're seeing kind of this evolutionary march toward integration of Document Cloud, Creative Cloud, and Experience Cloud into, you know, into an amalgam on the one, integrated on the one hand, and a platform being built underneath it on the other hand, which I now see they're calling kind of an experience platform. And, you know, Oracle now has CX Unity, which is kind of more data-driven specifically. Now but then Adobe is kind of countering with that one with, you know, starting to integrate Marketo data into theirs and so on and so forth. So, you know, but it's interesting to see how Adobe is trying to take what has been, as you know, historically B2C, highly experiential, and bring B2B into it. Now, personally, I'm not 100% certain they're there yet. I think they're on the right track, don't get me wrong, but I don't think Marketo really is. Magento's integrated. I think we could know.
I think there's still a lot of integration to do.
Okay.
I think they've let the business units run on their own. They're probably going to do the usual thing, let them run a year or two on their own, build the slow integration points as they make, and then start building it. And the platform's not completely built yet either, right? So I think in parallel, you've got platform going this way, integrations from Marketo, Magento fitting into the platform over time. Right now, I mean, there's outside integrations, but when it becomes native, then we're going to see that.
How long do you figure that's out with these guys?
What do you mean?
How long till they kind of get there?
I'd say about 2 or 3 years.
Oh, that's not bad.
So, I mean, that's what I think they're working towards.
I'll tell you, when they get, you know, I've always had this thing about the big four, obviously, that most people do, Oracle, SAP, Microsoft, Salesforce, and I've started, over the years, I started calling it big 4.5, and Adobe was the 0.5, and then in January, interestingly enough, I started calling it big 4.8, meaning they're moving up the chain, but they're not 5. And what you're saying, though, in about 2 years, if they do that, and they kind of continue on their other paths, they will be a 5.
Yeah.
They really will be. They will be competitive with the other 4, except Microsoft, of course, who they love.
Well, for now.
Right.
So,
well, you know, relationships are
relationships are pretty deep. So.
Brent and I have had many a conversation about GARP, the Get a Room Partnership.
You were tweeting about that. I actually saw that. I mean, I was just pretty. I was like, oh, what are you talking about? Get a Room Partnership is better than Barney Deal. That's all I can say.
That's what I saw your tweet on that one.
I just have one thing to add. I'm not sold on DDOM.
Oh, the name. Oh my God, no.
The name is, I don't know.
Well, it's got that doom and gloom thing to it.
It's got some other connotations.
And there are other connotations that we, but for this
Well, I'll
PG-related
say
show,
it.
we can't really talk about, but that's okay.
Thank you. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
So,
Much better than what I
It's a
was about to
family-oriented
say.
channel here, so, you know.
I was
okay.
just about to say a little bit more raw. Let's say a little bit more R-rated.
But other than that,
So.
yeah.
No, but it is exciting, right? I mean, you see what's happening in this space. We were just joking, like, so who the hell? Someone bought like a $330 million on a personalization vendor, just on personalization, right? That's crazy.
Someone, that was McDonald's.
I know. It was McDonald's. I was going to call him out.
Yeah,
I'm
you
like,
can call them out. Don't
like,
worry,
yeah.
we're here.
They're not sponsored, and even if they were.
And who would eat that stuff? So,
Okay. Well, one thing, it seemed like we've been to what? A Salesforce event, Oracle event, Microsoft event, now Adobe.
no wonder I'm so tired.
Yeah, and it seemed like,
well, how often are you guys in Vegas? So.
and I'm setting up residency because next week will be the 3rd straight week.
See, I'm not going to NetSuite. Are you?
I'm not going there. I'd
Okay.
actually be in Europe, but
You'll be by
but
yourself.
I'm here 30 times a year, so I get it.
30?
30.
Oh, God.
Like, do you have a DJ residency yet?
Not yet.
See?
See, that's
Tao
We
and
could
Hakkasan.
share a residency.
Tao and Hakkasan. We'll go
you
there.
guys, okay, so I'm making a pitch to the world here. It was it 3 years ago when you did Oracle CX DJ?
Yeah,
Was
Tao.
that 3 years ago.
Was that long ago?
That was a Hakkasan and then Tao, I think.
Right,
I remember
it
one
was
of them.
exactly what it was. It was the nightclub, it was Hakkasan.
It was Hakkasan.
It was
Yeah,
Hakkasan.
it was Hakkasan.
So,
Yeah.
Brent's accomplished DJ too. So, I am calling upon the next vendor that has the two of them to watch, the two of them in Vegas, to hire them to DJ an event. You're talking about two of the most important influencers in the entire tech world actually willing to DJ an event, but you need to pay them, by the way. I'm their agent.
Hey, DJs make, when I was in school, I went the accounting degree route and hung up the DJ stuff because I thought I would make more money as an accountant. I never made $1 as an accountant. And DJs today make what, 50,000, upwards of 50,000 for a set?
DJs make a lot. So
Well-
DJing paid for a lot of my college. So I'll leave it that way. So.
Okay, well that's not only a plea. I'm going to actively campaign for this.
Well, if we do the
Okay.
CXDX event maybe next year. maybe
Yeah,
we-
we should. Ooh, wow, the first.
That's a
public
little
announcement.
foreshadowing there.
Right,
I don't know.
first public announcement.
So.
Okay, so let's publicly announce it. What you want?
Maybe we
to?
can't, I don't think it's,
You don't think it's ready?
I don't think it's right. Maybe like a month from now, like after May 1st.
I think a month from now. I'm not
After
that we
May
can talk
1st.
Okay,
about
well,
maybe
then
doing
everybody look back at this broadcast and remember when it was said. And in a month, you'll get some details. I'll give in to the two of them in a month, but it's
Yeah.
going to happen.
We could, small
Oh, it'll happen.
dinners,
Conversations already on.
conversations, that kind of
No,
stuff.
the conversations about the event are already going.
All righty, okay. Any last part?
Any
You
last
threw me
word?
off on that one. 'Cause I
Any
was
last
not-
words?
Any parting words? Not last words.
Parting words. Oh, parting words. Last words are a little bit more dangerous. So, no, look, I think this has been a very interesting conference. I think what we're seeing here is more and more CIOs start to notice Adobe. I think part of the reason is they're trying to figure out how to reduce their martech spend. That's a very, very important piece. CFOs are actually looking at this as well because they're looking at a consolidation play. We've got about 20% of CIOs that actually really want to transform customer journeys, and that becomes very, very interesting. So that CIO, CMO, CDO partnership is pretty strong, but the people that really resonate the most to the overall story here at Adobe are the chief digital officers. They're the ones that actually get it, they understand what they need to do, and they're not like the glorified CTO that became a chief digital officer, so no offense to any of those, but my point is, like, those are CDOs that actually have massive technical background that also have the business skills to build. They get the most out of this event.
So one last question then. So Adobe, again, we've talked about its uniqueness, we've talked about its kind of moving up the chain and its positioning, and its market power, I guess, is really it, and influence and impact. So what do you think is, let's call it, the biggest obstacle to them doing that? What's the biggest obstacle they're going to have to overcome to their success?
I think they've got to spend more on innovation, right? I mean, they've got a great thing going. Stock price is wonderful. Everybody's operating to those metrics. But sometimes you got to pull a little bit back and just spend more on innovation. Because, as the internal Adobe term is run book of business, we hear a lot. It's great. They're doing an awesome job managing that. But there's new stuff on the horizon that they've always got to jump into. And they also have to figure out how to get CIOs to understand why it's so important to be here, right? If they get that in place, the CIO, CMO, CDO type of partnership in place, I think they'll crack the nut and they'll really give Salesforce and, I'd say Salesforce, Oracle, and Microsoft a good run for the money, even though they're partnered with Microsoft.
Okay.
All right. So I guess I'm the only one that's going to be back here next week in Vegas. So.
Have a good time.
Have a great time. I'll be here in 4 weeks, 5 weeks.
Okay, well, you just wait around until he gets here.
And on that note, I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
He is clone number what?
I'm clone number 3 with Ray Wang.
And we will see you next time, but not in Vegas.